Okay, so I'm going to try and make a guide on how to get into Dragon Shores, and also how to do various things once you're in Dragon Shores. So getting out of bounds, getting the infinite fireball power up, skipping into the theatre to get all abilities. And you might notice I'm sparksless, I don't have sparks. That is intentional. You're not supposed to swim in Dragon Shores, and if you swim with sparks, then there's a pretty good chance that your game will crash. So if you lose sparks, then that avoids the issue. So I'm going to go ahead and start from the beginning of Winter Tundra, and I'm going to do a series of jumps here, which you've probably seen a million times before. Just double jumping on the scenery to get into the castle grounds without buying head bash. And then I'm going to go ahead and climb these stairs. And once you're at this point, you don't need a walking double jump, but it makes it easier. I'm going to double jump from here, and then just hover onto this flat part of the mountain. You can go around at this point. You can glide around the mountain if you want to get into Dragon Shores, but I've always just done it this way. I double jump onto the waterfall, and then from here, I'm going to jump over this little bump in the mountain here, and I'm going to charge downwards so that I'm low enough to go under the map, and then I'm going to start gliding again, and I'm going to go right into the Dragon Shores portal, which is directly underneath where it would be normally. And the good thing about the Dragon Shores portal is that it's absolutely massive. It's really hard to miss, so I'm not going to spend too much time dwelling on this. So charge down, get low enough. I'm going to go under this part of the map here, and then right underneath, and there's the portal. Okay, so now we're getting into Dragon Shores, and before I get started with the jumps, I'm going to point out a few reference points. So first of all, there's this back corner here. This is where you'll want to start from. You don't have to be this far back, but it makes for a good reference point for the sake of this video. And then there's another corner right about here where the sand gets a bit brighter, and this is where you're going to jump from before you go for the out of bounds. So before I do it, I'll explain what I'm going to do, and then I'll try and show you. So I'm going to start from this back corner. Again, you don't have to be this far back, but it's a good reference point. I'm going to walk along this part of the wall, and I'm going to hold L2 while I do it as well, so that the camera kind of sticks along the wall with me. And then when I get to this part, I'm going to do a double jump, and I'm going to glide at the top of my jump. And because this wall is slightly curved, and I want to stay parallel with it, I'm going to tap right ever so slightly during my glide. And then once I get to this part of the wall, this pillar, I'm going to press left to flop over it, and that should push me out of bounds. So again, I'm going to start from here, walk and hold L2 to get to this corner here, and then at that point I'm going to double jump, and at the top of my jump I'm going to glide, tap right ever so slightly to follow the curvature of the wall, and once I'm parallel with this part of the pillar, I'm going to press left to flop over it. That's the goal here, so let's see if I can get it. There we go. And once you get over the pillar, you probably heard me mashing on my controller, you want to catch the glide so that you land in this water. Underneath the pillar, like inside the pillar there, there's nothing. You'll just fall down into the void and die. So, you want to make sure that you get a glide and go into the water once you're over. So I'll try and get it again just to show it off. There we go. So once you're out here, you have a couple of options. I'll set a save state because there are multiple things I want to show. So if you just want the fireball power up, then you can head this way. You don't need to swim for this, so just jump and glide along the water. And once you're here at this edge, there's the power up. What you want to do is just double jump from here, glide towards the power up, slightly to the right because you want to pass through it perpendicular. So you want to glide to one side of it, and then for whatever reason the power up extends underneath the floor. So once you're under it, just hover through it and you'll get the power up. So here, double jump, glide, hover through it. and that's the power up. And that's how you get Fireball. Alright, so that was how to get Fireball just by itself, the standard way. And now I'm going to show you how to get Fireball and then enter the theatre to get all abilities. So, first of all, I'm going to get myself between the boy that's on my left and the pillar that's on my right. And I'm going to look almost directly between them, but slightly to the right. And this way I should be looking almost straight ahead at the Fireball power-up. It should be like ahead of me through the walls that are there. And this next bit I can't really slow down because of how swimming works in Dragon Shores. When you swim in Dragon Shores, the camera locks itself in one place, and then depending on where you move next and how you move there, the camera will shift itself accordingly to a new position. But each time it moves, it stays locked in place until you get it to move somewhere else. Like, it doesn't move smoothly or freely at all. So as long as you do the right set of inputs for movement, then it should do the same thing near enough every time, and you can get it pretty consistently. So what I'm going to do next is dive into the water. I'm going to angle Spyro upwards slightly, and then I'm going to swim forwards, and then once I'm kind of past this beach area, once I'm underneath the wall that's ahead of me, I'm going to push Spyro upwards, and pushing him upwards at the end should trigger the camera to move to a new location. And it should be a spot where I can see what I'm doing and where I want to go next. So, hopefully I get that now. Yeah, okay, so the camera moves here, and what I want to do here is swim underneath the Fireball power-up. Just like before, you can get the Fireball from underneath. So there we go, I just swam under it and got the Fireball power-up. And what I want to do here is swim kind of towards the top left, because this is where the theatre is. So I'm just going to charge there, and hopefully the camera moves itself by the time I get there. Yeah, here we go. So now I'm at the theatre, and this is the camera angle I like as well. There are two things you can do here. You can line yourself up against either of these pillars, but I prefer this left one. So I'm going to swim into this corner, and I'm going to charge up it, and then once I get over, because I roughly know how high the building is, and once I get to the top, I'm going to push myself down and slightly to the right, and that should push me into the theatre. So I'm going to set a save state just in case, because this is kind of finicky. So I'm going to swim up, I'm over it, push down, slightly right, and I didn't go far right enough, so I didn't get into the theatre. So I'll give that another go. I'm going to swim up, down, slightly right, and there we go. I'm in the theatre. And then at this point you just want to watch Come On Sparks, the last cutscene, and that should give you all the abilities. And I think that's all there is I can mention. So it wasn't the best tutorial, I made a few mistakes along the way, but hopefully this was useful.